Hi there. I want to talk to you a little bit today about fear. I started reading this book. It's called Fear Not by Martha Smock. Got this book at church. Very powerful book. Now, we all deal with some kind of fear, one fear or the other. And the first time I read the Bible from Genesis to Revelation, I realized that fear is very common to all of us, that God is very aware that we have lots of fear issues, because I realized that in the Bible there were many, many commands from God. Fear not, fear not, fear not, fear not. So I came to the realization that if God didn't know that we would have lots of fear issues. I don't believe that in the Bible, where it says God keeps saying, fear not, I don't believe God would be saying that so much if God did not know that we're going to be experiencing fear. So the Bible is reassuring us not to be afraid. Now, I've also come to realize that most of the issues we have in life are due to fear. We fear being broke, not having enough money to do what we need to do to pay our bills, pay for rent, pay mortgage, build a house. We fear not having enough money. We fear getting sick. Um, we fear losing our loved ones, losing our husbands, losing our wives, losing our children, whether to divorce or death. We fear the loss of love, our loved ones dying or loved ones leaving us. All kinds of fears that make us paranoid. So many times we bump into people on the road, on the job, at school, even our loved ones at home, and they're very cranky. We're very cranky, and it's because we're afraid. Sometimes we're afraid and we don't even know what the heck we're afraid of. But fear is a big factor. We go to bed and we're afraid of not getting up the next day, or we're afraid or we fear whatever it is we have on our to-do list to do tomorrow. Fear paralyzes us and makes us paranoid. And fear is wreaking havoc in our health, or physical health, or emotional, or spiritual health. Many physical conditions are as a result of stress, emotional stress. And these emotional stresses are as a result of some fear or the other. Fear of losing our jobs, so we have to depend on others. Fear of losing our loved ones. Fear of being broke. Fear of being unhealthy. One fear or the other, which leads to emotional stress, which leads to physical diseases like cancer and diabetes and heart disease and depression and anxiety and constipation and acne problems and skin breakdowns and lack of energy. Fear factor. Fear leading to many, many disorders in our lives. My family member mentioned to me a couple days ago that he has suffered from paranoia and fear for many years, but his family never knew that and still don't know. He never shares it. That's another issue. Most times when we suffer from fears and paranoia and stresses, We don't want to bother others because, to be honest with you, most people don't even want to hear or stories. And so we keep them inside and we suffer inside. And that suffering inside creates a poison that just kills us and sends us into depression. Well, my family member says he had to recognize that he had that fear and paranoia. And once he recognized that he had that fear and paranoia, he would pray and meditate and fast for at least 24 hours, just drinking water. And he found that he would overcome that fear and that paranoia for the moment. So we have to find ways. When I become fearful, I pray. I also journal. And also when I become fearful, I remember what God has done for me in the past. You know, if I don't have money, I remember the times when I didn't have money and somehow God provided. If I don't feel well, and usually when we don't feel well, our minds go to the worst. If we have a little pain in our head, we're thinking we have brain cancer. If our tummy doesn't feel well, we think we have colon cancer. Our minds always go to the worst possible scenario. Whenever my mind does that, I remember how God healed my body in the past. If I'm broke, I remember how God provided for me in the past. Okay, so prayer and meditation does help when we have fears. We just have to remember how the good Lord helped us out when we were at our worst. And another thing I do is to count my blessings. I love journaling because in my journal, it's just a book, I can get up and I can write about all the things that God has done for me, how He woke me up this morning, gave me life and health and strength, provide food and shelter and clothing and family and friends. And once I start remembering how God has blessed me and provided for me, generally the fear either goes away, subsides, or is significantly diminished. So I say try to incorporate prayer and meditation and a gratitude journal to help you with your fear issues. Okay? God said, the Bible says, God will provide all our needs, provide for all our needs. And I have learned to believe that God will provide for all my needs, so I should not worry. And I have to constantly remind myself I should not worry because God is my provider. I've never gone to bed hungry, and I've never walked around naked without clothing. And every day I wake up with being able to breathe and walk and see and hear and talk. Isn't that enough to reassure me not to be afraid, but to trust God? The same God who gives me fresh air and oxygen and sun and food free. Because even if I never buy any food in the supermarket, there are enough greens all over the place that are edible that would keep me alive and strong for years. So fear not, relax and trust God. I find that when I don't worry, things just work out. So I'm learning not to worry. Like the Apostle Paul said in the Bible, I have learned to be content in whatever state I am. I can say I am learning to be content in whatever state I am, because I find that when I don't worry and when I'm not afraid is when things just kind of work themselves out the way they're supposed to be. And that keeps me calmer. Another thing I've learned is that what I resist will persist. Meaning what I'm afraid of and what I stress about, it keeps repeating itself in my life. But when I relax, then things will just work out. Recently, I went to the beach and I noticed that the waves, they don't force. The waves just come and just go. The waves just come and just go with the tide. And it reminded me that I too should not force things in life. Just roll with the tide, go with the tide and the waves, and things will just work themselves out perfectly. All right, so remember, pray and meditate. Meditation for me is just being still, just finding a quiet place where I can be just be still, just me and God who lives within me. Look at the trees and the branches just swaying in the breeze, and just don't do anything. That's meditation for me. Just being still and being aware of God who lives within me. Also taking nice, slow, deep breaths is meditation for me. Also just taking a nice little stroll in the neighborhood or around your yard and just take time to look at the flowers and the bugs and the animals and the plants is meditation. All right? So fear not, relax. God is in control, and God has promised that He will take care of all that you need, and then some. Till we meet again, God bless you. Bye-bye.